Hi, I'm Ted Nelson. I always wanted to be a generalist since I was a kid, like the age of 10. I got this from one of my heroes. I think it was Buckminster Fuller, or maybe Frank Lloyd Wright, or maybe it was a quote from William James. I think my great-grandfather would quote people like William James at the table, saying, "We need more generalists." I said, "Yes, I want to be a generalist. I don't want to be a specialist." So what is the definition of a generalist? Let's look at Wikipedia. It says here on Wikipedia, quote, "A generalist is a person with a wide array of knowledge on a variety of subjects, useful or not." Who wrote that definition? I did this afternoon, because the definition of generalist this morning was wrong. This afternoon, which is the 17th of January, 2019. The definition this morning was wrong. It said someone who has a wide variety of useful knowledge. Well, hey, if you know a lot about history and insects, or let's say social insect reproduction and quantum physics, you may very well be a generalist, but those things aren't useful, except to specialists. So what is a generalist good for? Well, advice. What's a consultant but a generalist? I've been a consultant, and all consulting jobs are alike. I think I tweeted this a while back. All consulting jobs are alike. Someone comes to you with what they think is the problem. You have to figure out what the problem really is. Then you have to figure out how to tell the client what the problem really is, because they probably won't want to hear it. This is like the issue of consulting a lawyer, who is in a way a generalist. It has to be a generalist across the law, at least. So they say in Hollywood, before you start to make a movie, see a lawyer, because you will eventually see a lawyer. The question is, will you see that lawyer in the beginning, when it will save you a great deal of pain, or later, when you've made a big mistake? So the time to call in consultants, which of course means advice from as many quarters as possible, is before you start some great endeavor. Then of course you don't have to take their advice, but they may indicate some problem you weren't aware of. For example, I had a friend who had inherited a valuable photographic library, and I visited him, and he said, "Look, there's the building we're going to put it in." And I said, "Why is it above ground?" And he went. So the time to get the advice is before you start stuff. Get all the advice you can, and then decide which to ignore, because of course some advice is going to be ignored no matter what. So the Wiktionary definition of generalist is much better, and I did not write this. Generalist is a person with a broad general knowledge, especially one with more than superficial knowledge in several areas, and the ability to combine ideas from diverse fields. That's more like it. So, specialists make more money, right? Get a PhD. Can you get a PhD in generalism? No. Can you get a job as a generalist? No. So it has to be for some other reason, unless you can get a good consulting job. Or, for example, and this is good advice, get a law degree and then go study something else. I wish I'd done that. But if you want to be a generalist, it's on your own hook, because you want to know. So a generalist knows the immensity of everything. History. Like Roman history. Okay. You all know that Julius Caesar was murdered. Apparently Shakespeare stopped writing English history plays when they were outlawed in 1599, so that's when he started writing Roman history plays. So Roman history. We all know that Julius Caesar was assassinated. And people teach the Latin of Cicero as being the great oratorical style, or the great, oratorical style of Latin, Ciceronian Latin. How many of you know that Cicero was murdered by Julius Caesar under horrible circumstances, by a crew of people including Caesar? And probably you know that Caesar was then in turn murdered, and his adopted son, what's his name, took on the last name Caesar as his title, which was then the title of the Roman emperors for centuries. The last name of Julius Caesar, which meant, I believe, haircut. And before that, where Rome had a republic, a republic with voting and constitution and checks and balances between the rich and the poor, kind of republic we used to have. So, every subject is enormous and boundless whenever you get into it. And the generalist knows this more than anybody, because you've gone into more than one subject. Now, if you go into one subject, you know how big it is. If you go into several subjects and see how enormous they are, that at the boundary of every field are uncertainties and disagreements. There's been a movement in the computer field called ontologies, which means finding agreed upon terminology. I can't remember his name, but a friend of mine who worked for me when he was in high school, worked at my computer store, wrote a wonderful piece on why this is impossible, because you see, even in science, everyone has a different definition for the same words. That's very important to them. So every field is enormous. The more different fields you're acquainted with, the vaster the universe becomes. And some of us want to know more and more and more, even though the more you know, the greater the perimeter of which you are aware of the unknown and the impossible ever to know. Yet this is a choice some of us wish to make. Thank you.